What's up everyone, Art of Patience Metal Fab, and today I grabbed the camera to start filming on a project that's been on a bit of a pause. That's the Volvo 242 Turbo. Now, if you guys haven't caught the last episode, I'll throw it up here. It was a really good one. Max was working away on the custom front mount intercooler setup, so check that one out to get caught up. Since then, we've been waiting for the rear end of the car to come in, and the day is here. Gary's picking up the large crate right now. I can see it coming in. So what we're gonna do is get it in the shop, unbox it, and then really start moving on that car because we have a short time frame to finish things up. So let's see what he's got over here. Gary, I'm getting a real Indiana Jones vibe from this crate. Is it gonna start glowing when we open the top up?
The old Raiders of the Lost Ark? No, hopefully not. This is the axle we've been waiting on and promising for months and months and months and months. There's parts from Australia that go into building this axle. That got held up, and then it was at powder coat for a while, and then of course, I didn't want it the way Cortex builds it, so I made Rick over there make us some specialty brackets for the lower arms. So all in all, yeah, we added some timeline to it, but it's here now. This is Cortex Racing's cambered rear 8.8 Ford axle. It's what they run in a lot of their S197 Mustang stuff, as well as a lot of their vintage racers. This is as close as you can get to making a solid rear axle grip up the way an IRS does due to the rear camber in it. You can run anywhere from 1 degree up to 2.5 degrees on this, and we'll crack this open and show you how it works.
This thing is so beefy seeing it in person, and it's gonna need to be with the amount of power that Volvo's gonna be running through it. Gary, why don't you give us a breakdown on what we're seeing here?
So yeah, the center of this axle is the same as a Ford 8.8. It's got a Torsen T2R in it. It's got the support back cap on it for Cortex's torque arm and their Watts Link setup, which is what's in all the bubble wrap here. But the real magic in this axle happens out here at the end. This is from Race Products. This is their hub. This is a company out of Australia. And what this does is this is why you can camber the rear end. This is like a giant CV hub in here. So you've actually got 2 axles in this. The spline shaft runs from the diff out to the actual hub, which is supported by a spindle similar to a trailer, so it's like a full floating setup. But then the CV setup inside of this is what allows this hub to be made into that axle at an angle other than straight on. So then you can actually run shims in this that set your camber up to 2.5 degrees. Makes a solid rear axle work like an IRS.
I absolutely cannot wait for that thing to get unboxed and thrown in the car for a mock-up, and that'll happen probably tomorrow. Today, Max is finishing up on some miscellaneous things. I've got some footage of him doing the downpipe on that car as well as the radiator setup, so I'm gonna throw that in, and then as soon as he's finished up with all of that, we're gonna get started on this rear end. Andrew's been putting in a ton of work on the Volvo since that rear end arrived, and I wanted to pause a little bit, get with Gary, and just have him give you a breakdown of what he's been working on. We've got this giant bar going across the center of the car, and I don't have one of these in my Subaru, so I'm not familiar. Can you explain exactly what this is and why we've had to modify it to this extent?
That would be called a torque arm. Really what it is, when you run a Watts link or a panhard bar in a rear axle, you need at least 3 links then on the axle in order to keep it from being able to rotate. You'll have 2 lower arms in the back, and then you'll have either an arm on top of the differential coming forward to hold it for your 3rd link, which is a total of 5 if you include the 2 in the Watts link, or if you don't have clearance for a link bar on top of the axle, then you run a torque arm underneath.
So clearly this is about 2 feet longer than when it came in. You guys saw Andrew doing the fabrication work to make it happen. Why exactly did he have to do all that?
In a perfect world, you want your torque arm to actually meet up right about the tranny where the drive shaft meets up. It doesn't have to be that way, and a lot of them in the past, we've used the torque arm in the configuration that Cortex sells it in, which brings it up to about here. In this case, it was a matter of real estate. There was really no feasible way for us to run a cross member between the connectors, the big subframe connectors on this, and still have drive shaft clearance and not just create some complicated mess in the middle of the car.
Yeah, and the thing that I really like about it is that Andrew continued the design of this plating all the way through. So once this is sent off to powder coat and it's all one color, it's gonna look like we didn't even touch it. That's a really cool design feature. We could have just ran through it a lot quicker, but to make it look like it was original, that's one of the details that we pride ourselves in. So from here, we are gonna be moving to the inside of the car. You guys might have seen the drive shaft mocked up from the bottom here. Really what we're gonna be working on is the tunnel, and that's gonna be a lot of metal shaping, a lot of work in the next episode. I think we'll run through that to the point where we have a tunnel all welded in here, and then we have to finalize some of the arms and connections on the rear end, and we're getting to a point where we're gonna put mock-up suspension in this thing and get it off of the frame table for the first time in months. So we're making a ton of progress ever since that rear end came in. If you guys are enjoying it so far, please like the video, subscribe to the page, and stay tuned for a lot more on this car.